Hello guys, today we are back with a discussion about gold versus Bitcoin. So first we're gonna go through very quickly through the price action. The recent price action has been very staggering for gold, and the gold bugs are going crazy. So this is Peter Schiff, one of the most prominent gold bugs, and one of the most prominent outspoken gold enthusiast and gold promoter. And so this is gold over the last 3 years, basically 2.5 years, and it's up 208%. So basically that's a 3x in US dollar terms. And so everybody's like, oh, is Bitcoin dead? So this is Bitcoin relative to gold, and as you can see, it's down 58% since from the top. So since the last year, gold has been outperforming Bitcoin. So is this the end of the world? Should we just move to gold and declare gold the winner in this race? Well, again, this is the time frame. Picking the same time frame for Bitcoin, Bitcoin went up 476%. So basically it's almost a 6x versus a 3x. So no, Bitcoin outperformed gold in the same time frame. And if you saw that at the top, well, it's a 741%, right? If you didn't, let's say you just bought at the low of 2020 and you never sold at the top, you're still up 600% against gold. That's staggering, right? So, and if you did nail the top, you were up 1,500% against gold. Let's say you didn't nail the top, you didn't nail the bottom, you're just an average buyer. You were an average buyer around 2020, 2019, 2018. You bought Bitcoin, you just held, you never sold one. You're still up, even with the recent gold pump, you are still up 217%. So even if you're not good to time the market and you're just an average investor, average buyer, you don't know when to buy, you don't know when to sell, you're still up 200% against gold over the last 5 years. So no, gold didn't win the race against Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still outperforming gold. Gold is still underperforming Bitcoin. So there's no reason to panic. Instead, you should look at this as a buying opportunity. So I'm looking at this as a buying opportunity, not financial advice, but these are the numbers. Again, even if you didn't nail the top, you didn't nail the bottom, you're just an average buyer, you're up 200% against gold, which is up 200%. So now that we are out of the price discussion, right? Like Bitcoin is still outperforming gold. Bitcoin is still doing better than gold, except if you take only this time frame of the last year. In the last year, gold is outperforming Bitcoin, but in general, no. In general, it's the opposite. Bitcoin is still outperforming gold. So Bitcoin is still better than gold, even for an average investor. So, but now let's just skip the price and get into the theoretical discussion here. So basically, we're going to start with what's the gold bug theory? What do they think about Bitcoin? Why do they trash Bitcoin all the time? Why they don't invest in Bitcoin, and why should gold be better than Bitcoin? So these are the critics. Bitcoin is worth nothing because it's made out of thin air. Bitcoin is a bubble. Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin has no industrial value. You can't touch Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a speculative asset, and Bitcoin can't work without electricity. Well, let's go through them. So first one, Bitcoin is worth nothing because it's made out of thin air. I've heard it so many times. Well, is that true? No, of course it's not. It's backed by computational power. Computational power means computer running all the time to secure the Bitcoin network. So you need electricity to make the computer run, and to generate electricity you need energy. So basically Bitcoin is digital energy. It's converting energy into a digital token that humans use to transfer energy. And in case you have missed it, this is what a Bitcoin mining facility looks like. So there is massive use of electricity, less than AI by the way, but still enough to make it secure. And so this electricity is backed by hydro powered or flared gas transformed into electricity, or solar power, and so on and so forth. So first claim is debunked. No, Bitcoin is not made out of thin air. Forget about that. If you say that, you are uneducated. So please educate yourself and realize that it's not made out of thin air. There is huge amounts of energy backing it, differently than any currency you are using right now. So the second one is Bitcoin is a bubble. Oh yeah, it's just going up and then one day it will come down, crashing down. It's like the tulip mania. You can see here, you got the tulip mania that, by the way, it lasted 3 years. Or the dot-com boom, back in the 2000s, early in the 90s, late 90s, there was all this hype, hype about the internet, and it was a bubble. Many of those companies were a bubble, right? The expectations were way bigger than reality. So in a span of just 6 years, the bubble crashed, right? It took 3 years for the tulip mania to crash, the tulip bubble to crash, and it took 4 or 5 years for the dot-com boom bubble to burst. So another example of a bubble is the FTX scam. It was a full bubble, and this is the chart you are looking at. This is a bubble. This is what a bubble looks like, right? This is what a bubble looks like. This is what a bubble looks like. This is what a bubble looks like. And this instead is the number of humans owning Bitcoin. And as you can see, it's gradually going higher. And this is a span of 10 years. So it's already more than those two bubbles combined. And this is the number of nodes. As you can see, the gray line is the number of nodes that run the Bitcoin software. And as you can see, it has nothing bubblishly. It doesn't look like a bubble. This graph doesn't look like a bubble. It's slowly and steadily going up and up and up and up, and it's not a bubble. Another metric is the number of active addresses. So the number of addresses that are daily active on the Bitcoin network. And as you can see, it's just going up slowly. Sometimes it goes down, but the average trend is up, and it doesn't look like a bubble at all. Again, another metric is the value transferred. There are oscillations, but the general trend is up. As you can see, throughout the years, the value transferred through the Bitcoin network is always greater and greater and greater. And this chart is a bit outdated. If you check 2025, it's going to be even greater. So no, it's not a bubble. Next we have Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Oh, I've heard that so many times. Even intelligent people say, Bitcoin is just a Ponzi scheme. But you didn't do the research. What is a Ponzi scheme? A Ponzi scheme is a fraud in which there's a lot of lies, right? As you can see here, you got a definition. There is belief in the success of a non-existent enterprise. It's fostered by lies of instant quick returns. So there's no promise of instant quick returns in Bitcoin. There is an existent enterprise of miners. It's not non-existent, it's physical. You can go and touch the miners. And the other connotation to this Ponzi scheme critic is that, oh, more people need to buy Bitcoin for it to go up in price. So, you know, you're telling me to buy Bitcoin because it's a Ponzi scheme, so I buy it and you sell it to me, and that's how you make it go up. That's false, because you don't really need more people to get in Bitcoin for the value of Bitcoin to increase. Yes, people do get in, more people do get in year by year, and yes, that helps to get the value up, but it's not what it's getting the value up. Mathematics matter here, right? Math is the real judge here, and math says that the value of Bitcoin, it's the money that gets into Bitcoin, dollar, yen, euro, whatever you have, pounds, all the money, all the currency, all the money that we get into Bitcoin, that we use to buy Bitcoin, then divided by 21 million, that's the value of Bitcoin, of a single Bitcoin, right? Versus the dollar, which is basically has no fixed supply, so it's infinite. It gets divided infinitely, right? So basically it goes to zero. The value of the dollar is asymptotically going to zero. Maybe these terms are too complex for you, but in a simple, with more simple terms, what I'm saying here is the dollar, the pound, the euro, the yen, all the currency that you know and that you use are going to zero. They are getting inflated to zero. They are getting debased to zero, right? I already explained this in other videos, so I'm not gonna stay on this topic for long. Bitcoin is the opposite, right? So we don't need more people to get into Bitcoin for it to go up. We just need it to keep existing, and more money will be put into Bitcoin, because even if the same people stay there, we are gonna put more money into it, and we're gonna put more money into it because they print more money. So money, as you know it, dollars, pounds, euro, it's always worth less. That's why there is always more of those in circulation, and that's why the actual value of Bitcoin is infinity divided by 21 million, because there's an infinite amount of fiat currency, and there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So we don't need more people to get into Bitcoin for the price to go up. Yes, it's a boost. It's a boost. It's something that helps, but no, even if the same people using Bitcoin, the price in fiat terms is gonna go up. So that's another one debunked. Then next we have Bitcoin has no industrial value, because of course people say, well, I'm better buying silver, I'm better buying gold because they have an industrial value, right? So there is a physical demand for it, because it's used in the computer industry, tech industry, medical industry, what have you. And that's true, but it's not true that Bitcoin has no industrial value. Maybe not in the same sense. It has no physical application for the production of consumer products, but it has industrial value, right? So this, for example, is a power generation site. So everywhere where they pull out of the ground natural gas and oil, which by the way they often go along, there is some gas that is low quality and gets flared into the environment, gets flared, generating emissions and pollution and global warming. I don't know if you believe in it or not, I don't care, but it does. This thing does increase global warming and emission and pollution. And what the industries, the oil and gas industry do is take that flared gas that it's Usually, before Bitcoin, this flare gas it's not economically viable for consumption. So basically, you cannot take this gas and send it to the consumer because it's very low quality, it's very poor quality, and so it doesn't make sense for them to put it in a pipe and send it, to the consumer. It's just too cheap for them. There's no money in it. Maybe they will even lose money doing it. So what the Bitcoin technology does, it allows the oil and gas industry to take this gas, put it in a turbine, generate electricity with it, and then the electricity is used to power Bitcoin miners, and hence you are turning non-profitable, low-quality gas, you're turning it into something profitable, which is Bitcoin. And by doing that, you are not emitting, not polluting, not warming up. So it's good. It's good for the industry. It's good for us because the world is cleaner. And this is another example. It's Bhutan. This is Bhutan. They have lots and lots of hydroelectric power. But the problem is that the electricity they generate through this electric power, through this hydroelectric power, hydro power generation through these dams, they could only deliver it to India as a big customer because basically they don't have such a big population to consume all this electricity. So they had to, before Bitcoin, they had to ship it through the power grid to the Indians, and the Indians will take advantage of it. They would lose a lot of electricity in the process, right? Because transporting electricity, it's not free. You are losing electricity each kilometer, each mile you are transporting it through the grid, you are losing electricity. So they were losing electricity and they had to sell it to another nation state. And that was not good for them. They were a poor nation. They discovered Bitcoin and now they are not sending all that electricity anymore, but they are taking all that excess electricity to mine Bitcoin, and they became a rich country by doing that. And they are improving the quality of life of their citizens. Finally, we have another sort of, you could say this is not an industrial application, but I don't know. I think it might be. It's the payment network. Bitcoin, it's a payment network. You forget about it, but Bitcoin was born to be cash, to be digital cash, right? So, for example, Just Eat, Lieferando in Germany, or Thuisbezorgd in the Netherlands, more commonly known as Just Eat, right? Food delivery app, is using Bitcoin as payments. So you can pay with Bitcoin to get food. And it's good for you and it's good for them. So that's another industrial application. It's not strictly to produce physical goods, but there is demand for Bitcoin for all these different applications that I just exposed. So that's another one, another critique that goes into the trash bin. Bitcoin has industrial value. Let's go to the next. You can't touch Bitcoin. You're right. What can I say? You cannot touch Bitcoin, but guess what? You can't even touch AI, like radio waves, gravity, but they're all very valuable, right? Very, very valuable. That's a fool's argument. And you can't even touch love or happiness. Yet they are the highest valuable things ever. So that's a fool's argument. You can touch Bitcoin. Even if you can touch it, it's very valuable. The next one, which is a little bit more tricky, is that Bitcoin is a speculative asset. Well, that's true in the very short term, like hours or days. Because since Bitcoin is the most liquid asset, people trade it, and when something goes bad, so-called risk-off events, people sell to get liquidity, right? Or they short it. So In the medium term, in the short term, like hours or days, yes, it's not risk off yet. It's more like risk on. It's more like speculative in the very short term. But in the medium long term, by the way, that's the same thing for gold. The same thing for gold. There is a market crash, gold goes down most of the time. There is anything in the very short term, gold goes down. But then in the medium long run, then Bitcoin goes up again. And so does gold. But here I'm just talking about the Bitcoin is kind of digital gold in this sense, because you can look at it, check out October 7 crisis, Silicon Valley Bank crisis, COVID crisis, all crises. You have Bitcoin dumping at the beginning for the first hours, days, sometimes weeks, but then it pumps back up, and it pumps harder than any other asset. So in this sense, there is still a division, right? Like boomers, mostly boomers, but even young people, but mostly boomers or boomer thinking youngsters have this mentality that Bitcoin is risk on. It's the highest risk asset. It's a speculative asset, and so they short it when there is something like a war or a crisis. But then in the long term, smart investors prevail because they think it's a risk off. They think it's safety. They think it's not a speculative asset. It's something safe. And so history proved that in most crises, then Bitcoin proved itself as a risk off asset. It's still debatable, so I think it's risk off because we know everything about it, and so that's another critique that goes through the window. The last one is, it's my favorite. It's Bitcoin can't work without electricity. Well, it's kind of the Armageddon theory, right? Like Bitcoin can't work without electricity, your Bitcoin won't work. I once met a guy that, 70 years old, gold bug, and he tells me, but your Bitcoin will not work when the electricity grid will be down. Yeah. Will it? First of all, the Armageddon scenario, the end of the world scenario is impossible. It's very, very low chance of happening, and even if it happens, it's irrelevant. Let's go through why. Why is almost impossible for Bitcoin to stop? It's because you need all renewable energies to go down. So no sun, no wind, and no hydro, all at the same time. And then you need all the hydrocarbons type of energy source finished as well. So oil. So you need not just the grid to go down, because the grid goes down. Yeah, okay, we can put generators up with oil, with diesel, with gasoline, with gas, natural gas of all sorts, and we can even use wood, right? We can use wood to generate heat, to generate electricity eventually. So lol, you cannot finish the wood to cut. Like that's a really absolutely Armageddon scenario. And at the same time, you need like internet down, like cables, let's say internet down, like surface, like earth internet down, and you need satellite data carriers down, all at the same time. Starlink, Viasat, Usenet, and all the military satellites that we don't even know about, they also need to be down. And you need phone connectivity out, because in case you missed it, yes, it's possible to use Bitcoin without the internet. They are doing it already in Africa or something. So all these conditions all together, it's very difficult to have them all. But let's say it does happen, this kind of scenario, then it's totally irrelevant, because we will have mass disruption, hospital not working, banks not working. So forget about your gold certificates, your gold safes, deposits in the bank, they are gone. And in this kind of scenario, water, food, energy, ammos will be the currency, not gold and silver, because in this kind of scenario, people will not have water, food, medicines, so they will not care. They will not care about gold. So that was the last point gone. I hope everything was clear. So everything was false here, right? Like the gold bug theory, the gold bug creed is wrong. So, but let's get now into why I and all Bitcoiners prefer Bitcoin over gold. Once we disproved all these ignorant critics, which are still legit, but they are, after all, generated by ignorance and fear and greed. So, first of all, Bitcoin is more portable than gold. It's unconfiscable, definitely more than gold. It's more verifiable, more easily verifiable. It has a fixed supply, and it has almost zero maintenance cost compared to gold. So let's start from portability. Well, portability means that, try carrying a ton of gold versus 1 billion worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has zero weight, zero. You can bring it in your hand, you can bring it on your phone, on a USB device. It's very low weight, or almost zero. Sometimes you can even put it zero weight, right? It goes as fast as light goes, speed of light, and you can cross border without declaring it. Versus gold, every time you cross border with gold, you have to declare it, and you know what goes with it. You need authorizations and so on and so forth. You need to comply with the rules. You need to provide a reason why you're carrying all that gold. So, you could send 1 billion USD worth of Bitcoin in seconds with less than $1 fee compared to, gold. Try sending, not even 1 billion, try send 1 million or 100,000 worth of gold through any border. It's gonna be a tough thing. You will have to bribe somebody. It's gonna be a headache, and you probably won't be successful. So, for example, practical case of this, it's the Tibetans when they had to escape the invasion of Tibet. They had to flee into India through the Himalayas. They had to carry all this weight of anything they have, and you're carrying tons of gold, kilos of gold, whatever. That's heavy, and that's gonna slow you down, and that's gonna increase your chance to die, and that's not good. Think about if they had Bitcoin back then, they would have been way better off. And this is another example. I think I don't even have to mention. You all know what this photo is about. You all know what it is. I don't want to be shadow banned. I mean, I'm already shadow banned, so I don't give. But yeah, this is another application of where Bitcoin is actually useful, right? Like, you could just flee with all your wealth safely. So yeah, that's another good application. What about unconfiscability? Well, let's be honest. Gold can be confiscated in a second. They just come in your house with a rifle and they point it at you. Where is your gold? And they're gonna get your gold. Like, they're gonna just grab it, put it in their pockets, and go. So Bitcoin, it's not totally unconfiscable. They can still coerce you. They can still force you with violence to hand them your Bitcoin, but it's you have to hand them your Bitcoin, right? It's not like your gold can be stolen without you even noticing, right? If you keep your gold under the bed, they're gonna take it. With Bitcoin instead, if you store it offline, not on an app, not on a centralized exchange, not on a laptop, not in a bank, not in a ETF, just on a cold storage, and you have multiple keys, then it's possible that, if you don't comply with the guy or the entity that is trying to take it away from you, They will not take it away from you. Instead, gold was confiscated over and over again. Like here we have some example, like the most common ones, let's say the mass confiscation. So Executive Order 612 in 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt confiscated basically all the gold. basically you were punishable with fines or up to 10 years in prison for not giving your gold to the government, right? He just said, executive order, all the gold of the citizen, it's now the gold of the United States government. So this is the United States government. It's not even like a banana republic or some, you know, terrorist state or like whatever. It is the US government. It confiscated the gold of its own citizen. And then again, in Australia, they kind of did the same in 59. And then they did it again in the United Kingdom in 1966. And of course, they did it in Germany. You know who did what. I don't have to read this because, you know, I don't want to have this video taken down, but you know, that Austrian, how do you say, painter, you know what he did. So these are just mass confiscation cases, but then you have like when police can just suspect that you're doing some criminal activity that then never gets proven and take your gold, right? And they did it with the private vaults raid in Beverly Hills in just 4 or 5 years ago, and that's just an ongoing trend in the US. So this is an example. That's Indonesia confiscating gold. Then we have India police confiscating gold. Nepalese in Nepal police confiscating gold. In Ghana confiscating gold. In Brazil confiscating gold. And then you have border confiscation. Even if you didn't commit any crime or there was no suspicion of crime, simply because you are crossing the border with too much gold or silver, by the way, everything I said, it's applicable to silver, it can be seized, right? If you fail to declare values or if the values is over the threshold, you know, and like, for example, like, imagine like you are traveling with gold, you declare that it's less than 10,000, but then the price goes up while you are traveling, and then so it all gets confiscated, right? It definitely happened in these days. While I'm talking, it's happening. So there's numerous cases of gold bars that were seized. Yeah, you can check it out. There are some cases here, more cases. I'm not gonna go through them, but yeah. So, but then people say, okay, but it's not safe if you're doing crime or you're suspected to do some crime, or you were in some dictatorship moment or Frank D. Roosevelt moment. It's not safe to have gold there, but it's safe for central banks to have gold and to back their currency with gold. You remember this? You remember this? Maybe you don't even know what this is. This is Iraq or Iraq, depending on how you pronounce it. This is Iraq 2003, the war on terror. They declared that they had weapons of mass destruction. They invaded their country, and guess what? They seized all their gold. So, if in case you missed it, what Iraq was doing back then was getting out of the fiat cartel, of the banking cartel, the Rothschild cartel, the debit-backed cartel, the petrodollar system. You know, it's different synonyms to describe the banking cartel, which we have nowadays, which has currency issued without anything backing it. So in those days, Saddam Hussein instead was backing its currency with gold. And the United States didn't like it. They said, you know what, you have weapons of mass destruction, we're gonna invade you and take all your gold. And they did it. So this again, it's another sign that nobody is safe with gold. And lastly, verification, right? Bitcoin is easily verifiable. Gold is so difficult to verify. You have to watch this video. You have to watch this video. This is Peter Schiff, one of the most prominent, most famous, most passionate gold bugs. Like his life is all about gold, right? Yet he was ridiculized because somebody handed him a gold bar, an actual real gold bar, real gold, top quality, real gold. He took it in his hand, he got handed it, and he was asked, is this real gold? Is this fake gold? And he said, this is fake gold. And he was wrong. That was the best gold you could ever have. It was high quality gold, it was real gold. He had it in his hands, and yet he couldn't verify it, which, you actually need to do chemical processing to verify that it's gold. But what if there is gold only on the surface? Not even the most professional guy on earth talking about gold all the time, not even him could say that if it was real gold or not. So, Bitcoin is verified in seconds thanks to software, which is open source. Everybody can do that, even a 5-year-old kid. Gold, it's a bit more tricky, as you could see. Check it out, this video. The video is so hilarious, you have to watch it. So then, of course, Bitcoin has a verifiable fixed supply. We cannot say the same about gold. We don't know where all the gold is. With that is good, but we don't know how much it is. So we don't know. Maybe somebody finds a big deposit and suddenly we have way more gold, and then it's not worth the same, right? And maintenance cost, well, that's easy, right? Like if you have a ton of gold, like Iraq did, like any country does, you have to, or even an individual, you have to protect it with safe deposits, boxes, metal doors with combinations, and people with guns. And even if you have guns, maybe somebody with more guns will come and take it away from you. Versus Bitcoin, you would just, put a safe word, use a password, divide the password, put it some parts of the password here, some parts of the password there. Nobody's ever going to come and get your Bitcoin, right? Like, it's way easier to secure your Bitcoin than to secure your gold. Doesn't mean that you can sleep on the security of your Bitcoins. You still have to be paranoid, but you got the point. So, in conclusion, are you still not convinced? After all this evidence, are you still not convinced about Bitcoin's superiority over gold? I have a message for you. Maybe, just maybe, you are a retard. So, I hope you can use your analytical thinking and not just your emotions about it, because people get emotional about, oh, Bitcoin is just thin air, created out of thin air, it's a Ponzi scheme. Well, it's not. I just put the evidence in front of your face. You can go through it again, check it for yourself, do your own research, but don't get fooled by these gold bugs, by these emotions. Don't be a retard, please. So, buy Bitcoin. Forget about gold. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.